See the fuck shit going on. This is shit I gotta deal with, man. These niggas is insecure. They always get scared when you start talking about something that they feel. Insecurity is a motherfucker. Look at this shit, right? They ain't never out here like that. Y'all niggas need to go. Get the fuck out of here. Insecure motherfuckers. I hate insecure people. Cause they make everybody else's life miserable. Cause they haven't faced what they need to face. Cause they think I'm what's the last video I dropped? Let me see, man. Cause it's obvious that's the reason why they're here. I think I got like how many more minutes I got? I went on 40. Yeah, I'm gonna have to record for 21 minutes, yo. Nah, 20 minutes, cause 1 minute has passed. Hold on. Cause I can always tell how they behave from the last video I dropped. I'm not even sure if I finished recording. I didn't even want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about something else, but you know how these niggas do. You know how this shit be, nigga. You're always trying to change the algorithm. History. No, not history. Your videos. I dropped a video about African Americans and black across the world. That we are uniquely different. So I don't know why they acting. I guess because I was talking about Spain and everything else like that. So who cares? It's true. Like, you feel me? The Moors ruled Spain for 800 years. They did. 800 years, my nigga. Talk about that in that. I don't want to talk. Who cares? The Moors ruled 800 years. The Moors. Yeah. Let me tell y'all this, man. This is the truth, man. We're in the Western Hemisphere, right? Haiti is the first country in the Western Hemisphere to gain its independence, right? When the Haitians gained their independence, they've lost their African ways already. They've lost their African language. They lost their African names. You feel me? We talking about they didn't even know who they was, and this was under 400 years. This was well below that. It was less than 200 years, maybe 200 years, and they lost that. The Moors and black Africans and black Arabs ruled Spain for 800 years, part of Spain, Italy, and France. For 800 years, ruled. In total, some places was less than others. You feel me? Nigga, what are you telling me, nigga? African America. Let's take a look at we still in the Western Hemisphere, by the way. The African Americans too. In less than 500 years, they done lost their culture, their name, they everything, their language, everything. From even the Native Americans. What happened to the Native Americans? The Native Americans was not speaking English. Yeah, that's nasty. The Native American was not speaking English, and within that time frame, they lost everything. Are we still in the Western Hemisphere? Well, that's America, that's the United States, Native American, African Americans. Let's take a look at Mexico. We had the Aztecs and the Mayans. When the Espanol people came from Spain itself, this was before, when they came over there, you feel me? Hurt people. So they came here destroying everything that the Mayans have built and everything else like that. Guess what happened? The Mayans was not speaking Spanish when the Hispaniola came over there, but they took everything from them. They took everything from them. They took their name, they took their title, they took their language, they took everything from them. So everything else that the Mexican is right now is actually adopted by the Espanol. So the language that they speak is of the Hispaniola. You feel me? Just like the African American, the Haitians, the Caribbeans, all the Caribbeans. Let it pass. We're talking about all the Caribbeans. We're talking about the whole Western Hemisphere. That's not their language. The Native Americans, they don't speak English and everything. They try to speak whatever they spoke back then. You feel me? All these things was taken away from them. And they gave them something else to replace that. So it's like, if I'm saying something that you haven't looked at or you didn't think of in that format, It's like, come on, you should have been thought about this. This is something that was already there. You feel me? That's not even what I wanted to talk about. This is something. I'm talking about this for one more minute. This is something that was already in existence already. The records is there. They took their name and everything else like that. So that's the same thing I'm saying about Spain. You feel me? And this was in the Western Hemisphere. I'm talking about Spain itself. Spain was ruled for 800 years. And in that short period of time, in the Western Hemisphere, we lost everything. We lost culture and everything else. What makes you think that this language that this people from Spain speak, it belongs to them? Or the culture belongs to them? It don't belong to them. There's no way. There's no way, my nigga. No way. I know people who I know myself, not people, I know myself. My parents came here African. They had me here. The fact that I was even raised in Africa, the fact I came back here, and it still influenced. It still influenced me so bad that I be losing pieces of my own language. You feel me? The influence is so strong that you lose pieces of your own self. You dig? Like, let's be for real. So Spain, 800 years? Come on, man. Don't be mad at me, Spaniard. People from Spain. I can already tell. I know niggas is mad because it's like, damn, Africa? You couldn't associate us with anything else? Yeah, niggas. Spanish is an African language. It came from Africa. The culture came from Africa. We influenced them so greatly. Nigga, this is recorded. You can't be mad at me for that. Please don't. Because it's like something that if you haven't accepted that by now, then I'm like, damn, that's kind of scary. What have you been telling yourself? Like, you feel me? Like the African who came here had his own language, had his own tribe and everything else. They took that away from it. The influence was so great that he had to succumb to what was there already. You feel me? You could be like, oh, but the African went to another country. Well, how about the Mexican itself? The Aztecs and the Mayans. They wasn't speaking Spanish. Don't tell them they were. They was not speaking Spanish, my nigga. They definitely wasn't. So they started speaking these things. The influence was so strong. It'd be like that. When something is ruling over you, then you usually have to come back to them. You feel me? If you can't beat them off, then this is what happened. You might keep a little bit of you around, but the overall picture is them. You feel me? They become a big picture of your influence. They kids, you feel me? Even when people from other countries bring their kids over here, they don't dress like their parents. You see the total difference. These niggas start wearing Nikes and everything else, start dressing hip-hop. They are influenced greatly, and that's first generation. That's less than 100 years. So what makes you think, unless the Moors were ruling different, that's no way. Everybody ruled the same way. We have human nature. So that is so. When I look at history and I look at that, I'm like, and I'm looking at my surroundings right now, I'm like, yeah, that's a fact. You feel me? It's a fact. The language don't belong to them, nigga. That nothing, none of this belong to them, nigga. This was the African influence. It tells you that in the Egyptian texts and everything else. Like, y'all niggas better do your history, man. I know it's Africa, so it has a bad taste to it. They don't want to be African. They don't want to be black. They want to be their own self, this, that, and third. But it's like, yo, we don't, like, I've seen Africans have babies with other culture, and that baby don't even come out looking African. So imagine having a portion of, if you can have a whole island of these people. It's crazy. Y'all gotta read the history text, man. Feel me? Y'all gotta read the history. Before you kick Africans off your country and make it seem like you better than them, there's a lot of countries doing that. Just know that you're kicking yourself out. They are you. You don't have to kick me neither. Like, they are you. They just you been separated for so long that you don't even see yourself in them. These are your parents. And that also go for other Africans who kick people out their country, like South Africa, kicking the whites out and everything else. These are us. We are all the same. We just can't see ourselves in these people because we have defined ourselves by pigmentation and features. And it's like, hey, if you grow up in another place for a long period of time, you will change the way you look, especially if you're mixing up the race the way you do. You feel me? You don't think, if Obama didn't know who his father was, he might think that he was something else. We could have, look at Obama kids. Some of them, sometimes they be looking almost Indian. Almost. Obama got the complexion of an Indian a little bit. It's like he's almost there, and that's first generation. That's a black African and a Jew. having a baby that made Obama. Obama came back and had a baby with a black woman, but yet his kids still look have the complexion of an Indian kind of woman. You feel? We see it in It's very hard to tell, my nigga. You feel me? It's very hard. If Obama, if the father was taken away, and the father and the mother was taken away, and those girls was raised somewhere else, guess what? If they have kids down the line, they'll be looking totally different because the mixture is there. There's a lot of mixture going on. You feel me? And that's the same thing with Spain. Don't be mad about it, man. You don't see that African in Spain, because also there's black Arabs in there too. There's black. Have you ever seen the Moors and the Senegalese and everybody else like that? You feel me? There's diversity in it. So don't get mad at me. But I really didn't want to talk about that. And I really got 15 minutes to talk to you. I wanted to talk about. I've been watching shows where a lot of people. There's a lot of like brotherhood. You feel me? A lot of relationships it's not going right between two men when two men are talking. And I realized that sometimes the disconnect comes from the way the individual was when he was a child. You feel me? There's a way that you communicate with men one-on-one, and the way you handle a friendship. If I'm telling you that I'm your friend, and you telling me I'm your friend, and we don't even men don't even proclaim, yo, that's my friend. We could probably say, yeah, that's my nigga, that's my boy, that's my day one nigga, 100 like that. But friend, we probably wouldn't use the word friend. Okay, let's just say day one, yo, your day one, 100, da. Y'all already have an agreement on how y'all move when it comes to girls, when it comes to money, and when it comes to business, when it comes to a lot of things. So I see all these relationships in the industry where things are not working out with people that they started with, or a person think they friendship with somebody else, but that person is in a different industry and that person is not behaving like the way they're supposed to behave. I don't want to mention no name because then I just don't want no hate coming towards these people's way. So I'm just speaking in surface terms. You see, if you're in the street, right, the way you grow up, you learn a lot of things when you're in the street. You get to learn, you almost become like a psychic. You feel me? You see people from a mile away. You feel me? You literally are conducting business on a day-to-day basis. You constantly watching yourself. You constantly seeing who's who. And when you conducting with your friends, it's like you have to keep it very open and honest, and brutally honest at times. Like you have to like now I wouldn't say I wouldn't even want to consider myself a street nigga. But back when I used to see street people, they used to be very emotional. People would see it as emotional, but they were just passionate about the things that they believe in. You feel me? Compared to a same person who lived in the same neighborhood but never came outside on the streets, they was always in the house. They didn't have that. They ran away from having that kind of action to communicate with other brothers. You see, when you're in the street, you with a bunch of people in the neighborhood groups and everything else. And whatever the mentality is where the people go. So if you're in the mentality of fucking shit up, well, that's where you're going to go as a group. If you're in the mentality of getting money, you're going to take chances if you do it the illegal way. Sometimes scams and everything else like that. We ain't telling. You feel me? But you know, when you gain money with your brothers, it's just a different feeling when you start building something with your brothers and everything else. Compared to that individual where it's like your parents didn't want you hanging out with the street corners. So you was going to school, you did everything right, you came back in the house. You avoid that brothership and everything else like that. So your mentality is going to grow up different from a nigga that was in the streets and getting it and had to deal with a bunch of different characters of people. You see, it's like a person who grew up with a lot of brothers has more knowledge in communicating with different kind of people than you having been grown up as a single person. You see, when you grow up by yourself as the single child, you become selfish because everything else that you got, you didn't have to fight for nobody. You didn't have to fight with nobody to get these things. But when you grow up with a lot of brothers or a lot of siblings, you constantly have to fight for things. You constantly have to put on your best foot forward. The battery's low. Okay. You constantly have to be in a position where you had to basically present yourself to your parents and everything else like that. You also had a responsibility and accountability of a lot of things. You feel me? Because it was always a fight for something else. You feel me? It was always the grind was real. You feel me? If you was an older person, if you was in the middle child, it shapes the character of who you are. If you was in the middle child or if you was the older child, but yet you also have the benefit of dealing with a group of people that you cared about, your siblings. The sibling war, it toughens you up. You feel me? Having been part of a group or having to have grown up by yourself. There's a big difference. So as I'm watching these things, I'm also learning about people's background and seeing if this person grew up in a neighborhood where he dealt with a lot of brothers one-on-one, or he was just a single child, or he just had a parent who was very protective of him. You feel me? This also plays into your psychic of being a narcissist too. You feel me? Hold on, let's see. Yeah, I still got a little bit of time. This also plays into your psyche about being a narcissist or being a sane or insane individual. You feel me? It's very important. So when I'm watching all these people talking, like I relate to the nigga that really I feel like if you in the street and you run in the street and you make it out the street, yo, you have a mentality that cannot be matched. You feel me? You just have a mentality that cannot be matched. You probably not a nigga who went to school and was on this. A person who went to school will probably have a better house than you, probably have a better car than you, will probably have a better networking and system than you. But you shouldn't feel bad about that. Because the way you treat people way better than that person. Because that person is dealing with it. He's dealing with people like a textbook, almost narcissistical. You feel me? He don't have that compassion. He don't have the trials and tribulations. He doesn't have these things within him like the way you had it when you had to go through the grind to get it. You understood what it was as a street or a person who had to grind constantly to go get it. You feel me? People who grew up, even if it's not school, even if you're not a person who went to school, but yeah, you was protected by your parents and everything else, and you just had to come back in the house and you was only dealing, you ain't go through the trials and tribulation of going through a hardship. You feel me? Even your hardship is like, well, it was hard. My parents, we had to, it was hard for us to eat and everything else. That's life. I'm talking about real hardship. I'm talking about you don't see violence until you been in the streets for real. You feel me? You avoided all those. You probably lived in poverty, but you avoided danger. You feel me? And I'm watching a conversation between two people, and I'm also watching conversation. The reason I'm talking about this because I'm watching conversation in the industry of people who are dealing with each other on a consistent basis, and I see like people are not seeing things for what they are. You feel me? Now they might say a street nigga is like, oh, you're being too emotional, you're not being rational. No, it actually the street nigga is more logic. It's like it's like we basing things not on the conversation right now. We basing things on, look, if you take this path, or if you saying, oh, it's nothing, it's just this, it's just that, then that means I have to treat every situation like it's nothing, it's just this and it's just that. You can't pick and choose that this situation does not matter. Let's just say that situation involves somebody fucking up your money. You feel me? And you like, man, that's nothing. Like how many times and you try to dismiss that situation. A street nigga will see that situation as, look, well, when it comes to saying anything else, then that means that I gotta pick and choose what I believe in. You feel me? Because you picking and choosing whether it's nothing or not. Or even when it comes to girls. And if you decided to do something behind a nigga's back, that means that you've replaced her with our relationship. You have to understand, it's relationships and partnerships. Relationship and partnership in the streets is very big, because that's all you got sometimes, because you don't know who to trust. So when you got one, you got to hold on to that friendship and trustship. You be like, yo, this is my mans and them. So when you break that trust, it's like, damn, nigga, I got to treat you like I don't even know whether you ops or not. Like you worse than a nigga. If at least I know that he's an op, but you like you deceive me. You feel me? Deceiving and everything else is very huge on the street. They're saying codes that you just don't do. So it's like. So it's like, you feel me? Like certain things are very big. It's like, so it's like when you see people conducting themselves, you can get to see how they was raised in the street. You can tell. It's like these people don't take, like they try to dismiss it. They try. I'm like, yo, you can't dismiss that. Our friendship is not based on because I like you. Our friendship is based because we have a trust. It's a trust in that. It's a respect. That's what it's based on. It has to be based on concrete, something solid. And now when you betrayed that, when you betray that friendship, it's like, how can I trust you? I can't look past that. You feel me? You looking at it like, oh, you think it's a textbook, you think it's a business relationship. Nah. I'm looking at it like, bro, you broke the thing, that the glue that put us together. If that shit is not there, it's a bridge that hold us together. If the bridge is not there, then how can I trust you when you broke that trust? You understand? And that's the difference between the two. They don't see it for what it is. They just think that they can just do certain things and come back to it. It's like, no, you can't do that. Like, I can't trust you, bro. I can't trust you. If I can't trust you with money, I can't trust you with my kids. I can't trust you with my clothes. I can't trust you with my girls. I can't trust you with nothing. That's what people don't understand. They think it's extreme, but it's not extreme. It's about surviving. Because you was constantly in that. Even if you're not there anymore, you can't trust people like that. So I have to be able to trust you. Even in business, it's based on trust. You feel me? But when a street niggas expressing these things to these college students or these single people who never had that kind of interaction with a group, they always think that you being emotional. Of course you're going to rely on emotion, but I got 22 seconds probably. But I'm going to holler at y'all. Let me get out of here. Some people coughing.